King Hippo, one of gaming's most menacing yet lovable opponents from the Nintendo Punch-Out franchise. Amongst the cast of timeless characters from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the NES, this portly pugilist still managed to separate himself from the rest of the pack and remains one of the most memorable and iconic figures in the series today. But what exactly makes King Hippo so special? Why is he one of the first characters we think of when we reflect on the Punch-Out series? After performing an in-depth analysis of the great chief from Hippo Island, I've uncovered many facets of King Hippo's origins, design, and legacy that will help us answer this very question. And I even have a logical theory as to why King Hippo was blue in the Captain N TV series, and I can't wait to share it with you in this installment of Pixel Profiles. Let's get started. King Hippo was one of a handful of new fighters that debuted in Punch-Out on the Famicom and NES in 1987. You first encounter the Tropical Chief in the second bout of the Major Circuit title run after defeating Don Flamenco. His wide-mouthed profile picture at the pre-fight title screen, along with those beady little eyes and a crown perched upon his head, immediately draw you in. The unknown height and weight statistics only add to the mystery of what you might expect this next fight to entail. But let's back up a bit before we discuss King Hippo's role in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Now, we all know that the NES game wasn't the first installment in the Punch-Out series, with the original arcade title and its sequel Super Punch-Out being released in the early 1980s. When it came time to develop Punch-Out for the Famicom and NES era, hardware limitations of these home consoles didn't allow for a direct port of the style used in the arcades, such as the wireframe mesh appearance of the boxer you controlled and sprite zooming. These factors were the main reason a tiny boxer named Little Mac was created to ensure you were able to see your opponents clearly on the NES. I'm sure the developers would have loved to include Super Punch-Out's Canadian bear hugger, but due to his signature move being the bear hug, which would technically be difficult to execute on the home console hardware, the designers had to find another way to bring a boxer of his stature to the Famicom. Makoto Wada, who was also the driving force behind Little Mac, was tasked with designing characters for the home port of Punch-Out. Now, while he's not a true sprite swap of the original boxer, it isn't much of a stretch to believe that King Hippo was created as Wada's answer to the bear hugger problem, based on physical appearance alone. When King Hippo first donned his extra large trunks in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, he was depicted as an obese man of royal blood hailing from the fictional Hippo Islands in the South Pacific. While we never get an actual height or weight on King Hippo, I feel it is fair to say that he is at least the same, if not heavier, than the 440 pounds that Bear Hugger is billed at, and at least the same height of 6 feet 3 inches that our Canadian friend stands. He bounces and yells on his way to the center of the ring, which is maybe a subtle way to distract you from noticing the weakness he is concealing under those purple boxing gloves. At first, King Hippo seemed untouchable, and he devastated your power meter with each punch he landed on Little Mac, and you ended up on the mat shortly thereafter. But luckily, I had an older cousin who shared with me the secret that was going around all the school playgrounds in the US, and that is how to exactly take down King Hippo by exposing his weakness over his abdomen. Now, I'm not going to insult you by telling you how to defeat King Hippo, but so many elements of this fight put King Hippo in a league of his own. First, King Hippo is the only character in the NES game that does not have a direct sprite swap. Second, this fight relies on visual gags and comic relief more than others, like finding a surprise bandage to X-mark his weakness, and King Hippo's boxer shorts dropping to the mat with each punch. Lastly, King Hippo is the only opponent that can never get up once he is knocked down. Even referee Mario trolls him with a long 9 count before calling the fight at 10. And he even spoke English in his commentary between rounds, which focused mainly on his gluttonous appetite. But in the 2009 version of Punch-Out on the Wii, King Hippo was portrayed as more of an unintelligible oaf who didn't speak English, and just grunts and screams his emotions throughout the game and cutscenes, further blurring the lines as to whether he is actually human or not. But I feel presenting King Hippo in this manner does make him more marketable for merchandising as the big monster opponent against the squeaky clean underdog hero in Little Mac. I guess Amazon agrees with me too, because they released an exclusive heavyweight contender kit during the release of Punch-Out on the Wii, which was all centered around King Hippo. It included an inflatable punching bag, King Hippo's boxer shorts, and even his crown, which is actually well made by the way. And to add even more confusion to King Hippo's identity are the teaser commercials promoting the Wii game's release. I personally love these commercials, and the actor is as close to a real-life doppelganger for King Hippo as you could find. But these commercials depict King Hippo as a washed-up former WVBA champion who now seems to be a regular Joe living in America trying to get his blender business off the ground. And we even find out that he was who defeated Little Mac in 1989 after he won the title for Mike Tyson.
It's the worst feeling that can happen to a fighter. You know, you're a world champion, all your dreams, you've accomplished them, and then it's suddenly like this, they just take it away from you. That punch cost me the WVBA title. After 15 years, it's going to be good to get back in the ring.
Even though Nintendo games were certainly mainstream back in the 80s, I feel his legacy was further cemented in our minds as the ultimate villain in the franchise due to his involvement in the Captain and the Game Master series. This Saturday morning cartoon on NBC featured its main hero Kevin and the rest of the N-Team and their adventures to save Videoland from the evil Mother Brain. Mother Brain's two main henchmen are the Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus and our now blue-skinned King Hippo. This duo provided comic relief in the series, and King Hippo was presented in a more grotesque and crude fashion than the Punch-Out games. But the main question I always asked was, why was his skin now blue? Now hear me out as I share my theory. I believe it all boils down to color psychology. According to an article from Vengeance discussing Disney villain color psychology, the light, almost gray blue that King Hippo is colored in the Captain N series reflects trust and loyalty, which are odd characteristics to apply to a villain. However, this is a similar color to Hades, who is the villain from Hercules. But what makes this color work for Hades is that he is a somewhat likable villain, who provides a lot of comic relief for the movie, which definitely fits with King Hippo's personality in the cartoon. Also, two of the most popular cartoon baddies in the 80s were Skeletor and Mumra, who had similar shades of blue as well. I know you may think I'm out of my mind with these theories, but I think they sound reasonable, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. King Hippo has undoubtedly developed a deep connection with both hardcore and casual gamers. And since he is so highly regarded, I hope that 2009's Punch-Out for the Wii will not be the final appearance of King Hippo in the Punch-Out franchise. An unforgettable character of his size and magnitude needs to live on in gaming generations to come. Special shout out to our friend Master Search for finding Mullet Boy first once again in our last video. And thank you very much to all of our Patreon members, which now include our newest supporter, Jim Williams. Till next time, guys. G3 out.